The 2020 transfer window has now closed. It was a fascinating deadline day with some big African moves on the day, concluding a window with some really fascinating transfers involving the continent's stars. But Colin, they weren't all massive successes, were they? Here, we're going to talk about our favourite transfers of the window, the moves we are believing are guaranteed to be successes, and we're also going to be looking at some of the duds. So, Colin, why don't you give me your 3 success stories from the window?
That's easy. I mean, the biggest African transfer of this window has definitely got to be Victor Osimhen from Lille to Napoli, for the price, for the way the move played out, and for the way he started out his career at Napoli. It's been absolutely phenomenal. He hasn't scored an official goal yet in competition, but he's shown enough to prove that that move was not only the right move, it was a great move. The second one would be Thomas Partey moving from Atletico Madrid to Arsenal on deadline day. I mean, that was a move that everybody wanted. To be honest, I think I'm a bit upset that not many top clubs were in the market for him. I mean, at 45 million, that was a steal, and anybody could have got him, whether it was Chelsea, Man United, just about anybody in Europe could have got him, and he did not. And I think I've got to give credit to Mikel Arteta. He's done a fantastic job of putting his pieces together, and Arteta fits right in there. And my third not great, but best transfer of the season, of the window, would be an emotional one. That's Chinedu Obasi. Look, I've known this young man since he was playing in the under-17s with Mikel and co. They did great things with that under-17 team, under-20s, so much talent under his belt. Unfortunately, injuries didn't quite let him flourish. And in the sunset of his career, 34, he's joined the Austrian club Altach, so Rheindorf Altach, and I'm hoping that he can bring some of that spark that he had as a teenager to them, to Austria. What about you, Ed? What are your great transfers?
Well, I love it when you speak with your heart, Colin, but I'm not sure Obasi's move to Altach can really be our number one top transfer of the window. I think of your other two.
My number one. My number one is Osimhen. Number 2 is Partey. Obasi is number 3.
Listen, when it comes to Partey, I think this is universally been accepted as a pretty great deal, a pretty great price. It is solving a problem in Arsenal's midfield. When I evaluate transfers, though, I look at whether it's a good move for the buying club, but also whether it's a good move for the player. And I'm just concerned, is moving from Atletico Madrid to Arsenal, is it really a step up? The Rocky Blancos have been playing in the latter stages of the Champions League consistently. Arsenal probably aren't even going to get there. I mean, I get that he's playing in the Premier League, but is that really a good move for him at this stage of his career?
Well, look, when you look at it in terms of exposure, he was definitely getting more exposure playing for Arsenal and the Premier League than playing for Atletico. Yes, I see your point about playing in the Champions League and in European competition year in, year out, but he goes to Arsenal, he's got more visibility, he's playing in a great league, and he's definitely also getting more money from playing for Arsenal. And look, at Atletico Madrid, he comes to Ghana and he's one of the players. As an Arsenal player, he's achieved almost instant legend status in Africa just by playing for Arsenal.
I mean, you're evaluating moves there based on the money and the exposure. So I think maybe already we are a little bit divergent there because, I mean, sportingly, I just don't know. I'm not sure whether he is really taking a step up here. I mean, Arsenal could finish 5th or 6th. No one would bat an eyelid this season. And that, to me, isn't necessarily a step up from Atletico Madrid. I have to say, on Osimhen, you and I have disagreed. I think it's fair to say we've disagreed a little bit about the Osimhen deal. I would say he's made a very strong start, but I'm still concerned about that price tag. I just wonder that it'll be a bit like Nicolas Pepe, where actually he'll have a pretty good season at Napoli, but he'll still be deemed as a failure or not a success story because he hasn't scored 20 goals or he hasn't got Napoli the title. I just wonder longer term how that move is really going to be evaluated, to be honest.
Price is not his fault. I mean, look, the clubs agreed on the price. That's nothing to do with him. What he can do and what he has to do is get out on the pitch and do what he knows best, which is score goals. And so far, even though he hasn't scored, you've seen the accolades that's come his way because of what he's done in that Napoli side in the few games that he's played. So I think that, at the end of the day, the price has nothing to do with him. What he can control is what he does on the field of play, and I think he is going to do it.
Yeah, Colin, I understand that, but you can't just ignore the price tag. When we're talking about transfers, we're evaluating players' transfers, the price tag has to come in. If we're saying on one hand, Partey is a bargain at 45 million, you have to also acknowledge that price tag could weigh heavy around Osimhen's neck this season.
He certainly will. I mean, any player who's been signed for big money always comes under that sort of scrutiny. I mean, look at Paul Pogba, who was signed for 80 plus million. He's failed to deliver, despite the fact that he actually went back home, so to speak, to Manchester United. But has he delivered on 80 million? So you're always going to have that sort of price tag questions arise. Same thing happened with Romelu Lukaku. So it's probably might happen to him. But I like the way that Napoli have rallied around him, provided a cocoon of protection around him. So I think that that's very vital for him, especially as he's a young player with years ahead of him.
Well, your suggestions are decent. They're okay. I'm going to go for my top three, which I think you'll agree are probably the three best moves of the window. In number 3, I'm going to go for Eberechi Eze, who left Queen's Park Rangers for Crystal Palace. 18 goals, 6 assists in the second tier last season. He's staying in London. He's got the chance to move to a club who appreciate their attacking African players, their wide players. And I think this move is guaranteed to be a success. We're seeing Prem clubs dip into the Championship for those attacking players, guys like Jared Bowen, guys like James Maddison. And I think that Eze, I'm confident he's going to be a hit at Crystal Palace, and it's going to be a great next step for him.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but we'll see how he goes. He started a bit slowly, so let's hope that he can pick it up as games go along.
Numbers 1 and 2 on my list, they both got something in common. When I evaluate transfers, I look at moves which are going to both benefit the buying club, but which will also benefit the player, and where the player themselves might grow and might improve from the deal. So I'm looking at Mohamed Kudus's move from Nordjylland in Denmark to Ajax Amsterdam. He's a player who scored 9 goals in 21 games in the Danish top flight last season. But on his debut against Valvik for Ajax, he registered 5 tackles, 3 interceptions. This demonstrates, I think, what a well-rounded midfielder they've got to replace Donny van der Beek. And I think Kudus, he's Ghanaian, he's going to be lining up alongside Partey for the Black Stars. I think that is an absolutely fantastic acquisition for Ajax, because I think he's going to improve there as well. I think that's a really key factor in that move. And the main one for me, number 1, it's got to be Achraf Hakimi. I think Inter Milan have pulled off an absolute blinder signing him from Real Madrid for 36 million. We've seen at Borussia Dortmund over the last 2 seasons that he's proved to be one of the best young right-backs in the game. And I fully believe that under Antonio Conte, he can go on to be one of the top players, if not the best player in his position over the next 5 years. I think you'll agree, Hakimi, Kudus, they've got to be number 1 and 2, surely.
Oh, well, look, Hakimi, I definitely agree with. Kudus, look, it's a more like just slightly, not horizontal, but almost horizontal move from Midtjylland to Ajax. Ajax are top
you
team.
You can't say the Danish league is the same as Ajax. No.
Well, I didn't say a slight. That's why I said it was slightly horizontal. So there's a bit of a step up. Having said that, I do agree with Hakimi. He's great, and he's gone to a club where he's playing with a coach who appreciates the value not just of wide defenders, but wing backs. He gives them the freedom to attack, to go forward and defend. So he's going to progress exceedingly well. I'm surprised really that Real Madrid let him go rather than keep him, and let him develop with them. So I mean, the fact they let him go to Borussia Dortmund and then off all the way from there to Inter is a bit of a surprise. But yes, I do agree. Hakimi is a great move, and even though I'll still keep him below Osimhen in the grander scale of things.
Well, I'm glad we agree for a change. Now let's hear the transfers that you're not sure about, the duds. Quickly, give me the ones that have got you worried.
So yeah, I think mine is a very sad one because I know the player, a friend of mine, and he had great promise. And I'm talking about Onasio going to Sona Yuska in the Danish Superliga. He's moved from Lazio to Turkey, and at this point, we should be seeing him making a progress up in his career, not going down. And while I understand the circumstances, because there was a bit of an issue, he was supposed to go to Crotone, couldn't agree personal terms. They wanted him on a pay-as-you-play basis, and they ended up going to the Danish Superliga for a move that you'd expect for a teenager, not for someone at the prime of his career. So it's a bit of a sad one, and I feel for him, but it's a dud move in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. It's sad to see a player who once meant so much to the Super Eagles at a time of his career when he should be in his prime, playing in the Danish league. But hopefully it's just a temporary spell and he can bounce back stronger, because he has had a tough few years. For me, the transfer that's got me concerned is Habib Diallo leaving Metz for Strasbourg in Ligue 1. He is a Senegal striker. He scored 12 goals in the French top flight last season, and he's moving for only 10 million euros. So on paper, it's not such a bad deal. However, there is a backstory here, Colin, and the backstory is what has got me worried. Because Diallo was linked with a move to West Bromwich Albion. He was linked with a move to Sheffield United. He ended up going to Strasbourg, and he promptly told a friend on Instagram, which was made public, that he was forced into the move and that he didn't fancy life in Strasbourg. So I don't know what the next 3 months are going to be like for him, but I suspect he needs to score goals quickly to win over his new fans.
Yeah, I mean, as a club, you never want to be in a position where you have a player who's just moved to your club saying those sort of derogatory stuff. But you know what? It happens. It happens. Now he's got to go there and prove himself, and hopefully he does.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.